Ooh, got some technology here, a clicker and everything. Hi, and thank you, Jeff, and thank you, NYN, and on behalf of Mayor de Blasio, thanks for letting us come and speak to you today. As Jeff mentioned, I'm the first ever Chief Technology Officer for New York City. We, we have a long way to go in terms of improving technology for government. And I hope today to share some of our learnings in the hopes that this could be of use to all of you here in the nonprofit sector. So one important part of this is that New York City's tech sector is booming. It represents 300,000 jobs. That's tech jobs in tech companies and tech jobs in non-tech companies. It generates over $30 billion in annual wages for New Yorkers. A unicorn, that's a company startup that has over $1 billion valuation. We have 5 here in New York and soon more. And we are really at the center of multiple industries. So we don't just have technology industry, we've got the arts, we have media, finance, healthcare, we have cybersecurity, another growing piece of our tech pie. A good friend of mine said that, technology is no longer a growing piece of the pie. It is the plate that holds the pie together. And, in recognition of this, it's really, technology has become part of our everyday lives, our work lives, and our social lives. What's also great about New York City is its diversity and the diversity of its tech sector. And therefore, it was named by VentureBeat as the #1 place for European startups to launch their U.S. operations. So what does all that mean? Well, there's also a lot of nonprofits here in New York City, as I don't need to tell you. Over 20,000 nonprofits. That's a lot of nonprofits. And we think that there's a huge opportunity there as well in terms of the technology that nonprofits can use to help them be more effective, more efficient, but also as a technology changes how we engage with society, how we can change the world. It also has an important strategic component. So that was really the impetus between that created the Chief Technology Officer role. Public Advocate de Blasio actually added to his platform that he was going to create this role as part of his mayoral run. And that was really a visionary move. It was a recognition that technology has great importance to New York City, but also to New York City government. And many of the parallels exist between the government and nonprofits in that regard. Thinking of technology not only as a way to do things more efficiently and going paperless, but also as a strategic partner in how you do things and even maybe what you do. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that. One thing is we need more nerds in City Hall, right? And, I'm just the one nerd right now. I have a great team of people who speak both government and tech. And that's an important skill to have. And I know many folks in nonprofits, you're experts in what you do. You're not necessarily experts in tech. And I think a key part of what we're learning is that we need folks who can bridge that gap. People who really understand tech, but also how to employ them for what you want to be able to accomplish with your organization. But also being experts in your organization to talk to people who really understand the tech. I think there's a great partnership to be had and a strong strategic advantage in doing so. So get more nerds. So here's an example. In our citywide technology strategy, which our office is tasked with coordinating, we focus on 3 major things. In our version of the 10-year plan, the Plan for One NYC, and you can look it up on the Plan for One New York, we focus on 3 aspects of technology that are of great importance to New Yorkers. Talent. This is both creating the talent that New York City needs to fuel its tech sector, but also assuring that that talent is diverse, that takes advantage of the diversity of New York, that we have more women in tech, we have more blacks, Latinos, and every possible dimension of diversity in tech, which does not exist today, sadly. I was one of the few women in the room for the last 30 years. I spent 30 years in technology. I started my first company in 1985, artificial intelligence 30 years ago. I went through a number of senior technology positions, the head of strategy for Palm, which was kind of the precursor of the iPhone, and the last 10 years in financial services as the CTO of 2 major global banks. And I could count the number of women on one hand. There was never a line for the ladies' room, though. That was a positive. It was kind of like a private bathroom for me on each floor of the building. But other than that, it was not so good, not so good. Access, I'll go into more detail there, but this is really about providing access not only to computers, but to the internet, to more people. Imagine going about your day without access to the internet and what a disadvantage that would be to you. We think this is an important aspect of equity, the digital divide. And then finally, innovation. Not only how can government do things that they already do differently and better, but also how can we do new things? And this is sort of trying to sort of open up your minds about, well, great, we do thing X, but maybe we could do Y as well and use technology in a new way. How do we do this? We encourage prototypes and pilots. This is not something that's, very, it's not very natural to governments because pilots and prototypes are risky. They sometimes don't succeed. So we're creating a safe space to try new things and, a little bit of permission to fail, right, in a controlled way. And that's going to help us use technology more effectively when we do scale up. So that's very important. We do problem-based challenges. So instead of saying, here's the solution we want, give us your best price, we initiated big apps 6 years ago. There's a lot of hackathons and competitions. Now we're targeting these towards the problems, the toughest urban problems today, and putting it out there and say, hey, New Yorkers, hey, nonprofits, hey, academic institutions, hey, private companies, give us your best solutions, and we'll pick the best one. And we help to co-innovate with people outside government. This is key part of our strategy. And then when it comes time to execution, the notion of public-private partnerships is really, really key. I can't tell you how much more effective it can be rather than government trying to solve a problem by themselves or the private sector or nonprofits trying to solve a problem by themselves, and instead partner together in a public-private partnership. So in order to leave time for questions, I'm going to zip through this next bunch. I'll give you one quick example. Something you might not be aware of. 22% of New Yorkers do not have internet access at home. These are by and large lower income, low level of education attainment, and when you go below the poverty line, that number jumps to 36%. We strongly believe, along with many advocates of net neutrality and closing the digital divide, that internet access is like the water and electricity of 100 years ago. Imagine living your life without access to the internet. How would you do your homework? How would you apply for a job? And more, how would you have access to government services if you didn't have access to the internet? So what are we doing about it? Well, we're chipping away at it. One, as I discussed, our office issued a call for innovations. We were looking for innovative ideas. We announced in June an open call for innovation. We got a bunch of great responses, 69 different responses from 11 countries. Came back with ideas on how we can expand broadband access in places like the South Bronx or Harlem or central Brooklyn. And we also are spending $10 million to put internet in NYCHA housing. And we're partnering with local internet providers to bring high-speed broadband for businesses and other areas and homes in the digital deserts of Brooklyn and Queens. Some of you may have heard about this. One of my favorite projects. A year ago, we announced this franchise that we granted to the City Bridge Consortium. They're replacing all of the public payphones with these beautiful things. It's going to provide free Wi-Fi on city streets. It'll be the largest and fastest free municipal Wi-Fi in the world when it's done. And you'll start to see them coming out next year. It'll be fully funded by digital advertising on those panels on the side, so it doesn't actually cost the city any money at all. In fact, it's generating revenue. We think $50 million in revenue over the next few years. It's also ADA compliant. It has a headphone jack. And if you don't even have a device that you can link up to the Wi-Fi, there's an Android-based tablet inside that you can use to make a free phone call anywhere in the continental United States. So this is a perfect example of co-innovated public-private partnership that we're doing first with a pilot and a prototype. So all three of these approaches in this great initiative. So finally, we think strongly also that the unit of engagement more and more is really becoming the neighborhood. So among our many neighborhood initiatives is building out a network of neighborhood innovation labs. We're looking for neighborhoods in each of the 5 boroughs to help us do a lot of the testing out of these concepts. Another one that you might have heard of is that New York City launched it is the largest top-level domain that's owned by a city. It's called .nyc. You can, I would strongly urge you, if you're a nonprofit based in New York, to get a .nyc domain name. It signifies that you are a New York-based company, and you will likely get a domain name that you might have been locked out of in the .com or .org world. In addition to that, we launched a beta, or another type of prototype, of neighborhoods.nyc. We've opened up neighborhoods sites. We've populated them with open data feeds with things like alternate side of the street parking, Department of Health alerts, but by neighborhood. So you don't have to search all the different sites. We actually organize the sites by neighborhood, and we're opening it up to community-based organizations who want to be able to run those and license them from the city for their own neighborhood and make it a kind of modern-day community bulletin board. And we've seeded it with open data that's readily available. We made it neighborhood specific, and the license would be only to accredited community-based organizations. So in closing, some of the biggest public-private partnerships and collaborations that we're doing today: Computer Science for All, which we announced a couple of months ago. And with the importance of computer science education in future participation of all New Yorkers, but especially young people of color and women and girls, we're focused on providing computer science education to all New York City public school kids. I went to all New York City public schools. This is one of the things that's near and dear to my heart. And all of those kids who go to public school deserve a chance to get a job in tech. They're great middle class jobs. They're well paying. Average starting salary is $65,000. That's not a bad salary for kids who want to go into tech. We see this as a really great opportunity to provide some economic equality by giving folks a chance to learn about tech. And there's many examples of where both public and private collaboration have been of help. So our big message here today is really tech for good. Absolutely, we want cool tech. We want to see the great new gadgets and new kinds of ways to reach people, but we want it to be for the good of society. I think New York City has a great reputation. We are the tech sector with a heart as big as New York itself. We're the tech sector that actually cares about the people, and it's not necessarily chasing venture capital dollars. And that's something I'm incredibly proud of. If you want to find out more, there's a few links there. And if you want to help out with Computer Science for All, either as a partnership or nonprofit organization that's providing computer science education, if you want to come and work with the city or for the city, we spruced up our job site. We're encouraging more nerds to come and work. And finally, if you want to find out about the Mayor's Office of Tech and Innovation, you can go to that website. So I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions. One question, sorry. You're it, you win.
My question is, whether you're rich and poor in the city, how are we helping agencies make use of best practices in user experience, human-centered design? Because I think whether you're a nonprofit or a citizen, red tape gets in the way on practices that are outdated. And I think that's a very big way forward to address.
That's a fantastic question to close on. I'll say, totally agree with you. You are spot on. A big part of what our digital transformation is about is to make the agencies and government websites and your websites easier to use. And that means mobile friendly. A lot more and more New Yorkers are mobile dependent, meaning that the phone's their only access to the internet, especially in lower income families. They don't have broadband at home, but they have a smartphone. So you have to keep that in mind in terms of the people that you're trying to reach. And really, in a plug for USDS, I know they spoke this morning. They've got a great playbook. I don't know if you've seen their USDS digital transformation playbook. I love it. It's cio.playbook.gov, I think, something like that. Just Google CIO playbook or USDS playbook. Basically, it's a list of all the best practices in user experience design, technology execution. It gives you a checklist of things to do. Go to it's very handy, and that's what I'll leave you with. Thanks very much.